This Katty Kay lady.
Oh, this one.
So watch this. This is like a minute and a half of pure insanity. Let's watch this.
Times, Joe. Look at the state of the U.S. economy at the moment compared to all other industrialized economies in the world. And it's not just the state of communist California that's doing so well. It is the United States writ large.
So she's going to tell you how good the United States economy is doing. And anyway, I think she's doing some cultural appropriation with her eyes right now. I don't know what she's doing exactly.
No, it's a facelift.
Is that what
happened?
happened?
She's like a Biden. Yeah, the Kenny Rogers eyes you get when they pull your face back too tight.
Okay, I think she went to Kenny. Here we go.
Growth is higher, inflation is lower, unemployment is lower. This, it's in global terms, this is a rocket ship. You read it, I read it too, Jared.
Oh, I want to ride this rocket straight to hell.
So So our economy is like a rocket ship and everything's doing great. So just ignore everything your eyes and ears tell you when you walk outside your house. Just ignore everything.
I don't do that.
Ignore the fact that half of all senior citizens have to cut their medication in half because they can't afford it. People are under mountains of debt. There's a whole generation of people who say they'll never be able to own a house. People still go bankrupt when they get sick in America. They have homeless people, children living under every bridge. You know that great economy you talk about? 40% of the people who are homeless actually have jobs. That's how good our economy's doing. So
no, people don't know that.
This is what Chomsky calls manufacturing consent. They're there to make you believe that the economy's doing well, so you won't be upset. You're an idiot if you think the economy is not doing well.
You know, I wish they would manufacture. We don't make things anymore. They don't manufacture it. They just want consent. They used to manufacture the shit.
Here we go. Listen, she has more.
Because article about the state of Russia and the state of the United States, saying how absurd it is to compare Russia to the United States at the moment. He makes a very funny comment at the beginning in a kind of spoof saying, yeah, that's because there are so many immigrants queuing up to get into Russia at the moment. At least they don't have an immigration problem because millions of people are not trying to get there. Where
through the border?
First of all, maybe because Russia has control of their border,
Right.
And
that's so stupid.
I bet you Russia doesn't even give their illegal mass immigrants millions of dollars in gift cards even. That's probably why no one wants to immigrate there.
They don't even just give you all the citizen shit the second you get there.
God,
losers.
Stupid commies won't even give out free money from their citizens' taxes to non-citizens. That's the problem with communists, Kurt. Eventually you run out of other people's money to give to non-citizens like we do in our free society as we close down community centers and hand them over to migrants that are being let in through an open border policy that is being manipulated by the international global billionaires that run this country.
As we pay.
Nobody in this country wants. Dennis Kucinich who's such a lefty, the Democrats gerrymandered him out of his own district. Dennis Kucinich was on this show a few weeks ago, and I asked him about the border, and he said, you got to shut it down. You got to shut down the border. Everybody knows you have to have control of your border, or you don't have a country. And right now, I still have to take my shoes off at the airport, but you can let 7 million immigrants in with not knowing where they're going or what they're doing, and hand them a gift card at the same time. Yeah. And this is not to demonize migrants. The 7 million Venezuelans who left their country in the last few years, they did so because the United States has sanctions on their country, and we keep trying to overthrow their government, and we're trying to make their lives a living hell in Venezuela. Why? Because as Trump said just the other day, we want to steal their oil. That's what this is about. When I found out there was more oil in Venezuela than there is in Saudi Arabia, I knew we were going to have to bring democracy to their people. And that's exactly what we're doing. And we're creating this crisis that makes migrants want to come here. And then we don't. This is not to demonize the migrants. It's to demonize the billionaire class that creates them and then opens the border to let them in. They are doing that to suppress wages and also to fill our military because nobody's volunteering. They can't make their recruiting goals. Okay. There's more to this stupid. Mel, you want to say something quickly?
Yeah, I just want to say there's another thing going on at the border besides obviously the destroying our social service fabric and everything, Cloward Piven strategy. Another thing is to make sure that there is no unity in America. Another big part of that, and shipping them all over the country, is to make sure that there is no pride in being American. There is no shared history. There's no shared, camaraderie. The people that are coming across now, they are not coming across to become American citizens like in the past. They're not going to go to I've gone to the ceremony with people that became American citizens. It's amazing, and they're so excited. These people don't want to be American citizens. They're coming here because they're being lured here by the UN and all these different NGOs, and it's really just to make our country unable to unite enough to fight back against the people that have captured our nation. As long as we don't see them, it's we're in a color revolution. It's a color revolution 101, and this time it's our turn.
Remember in Tucker's interview when Putin they wouldn't let him in NATO?
Yeah.
And why? None of these assholes mentioned this very important part. Well, I think because Russia's big and kind of tight-knit and they couldn't break us up and balkanize us.
Right.
Like they did to us.
That's right.
Right.
So here,
that's the bigger goal too, is to make us break up. And the other thing that they said, and the other thing that came out of the Russia interview was that Putin said, as you have said and I've said all along, Putin has he doesn't want to go take over Poland and the rest of Europe. Why would he? He has all the resources he needs. He's got 150 million people. He's got the biggest landmass. He doesn't need all these countries that are around him. He just doesn't want Ukraine to have weapons on his border, whatever the case may be. There has never been him or anyone else saying that has any kind of voice that his next goal is to take over the rest of Europe. And that's what they're pushing now, is that once he takes Ukraine, he's going to go get Poland and everywhere else. There is absolutely zero evidence that is even in the cards at all. And that is how they keep going forward, is with that lie. And Putin said in that interview, I have no interest in going into Poland. And besides, Poland actually is a NATO country. So why would he go there? And the saddest part is nobody's talking about peace. Nobody is talking about peace in 2024.
Genocide.
That there's anyone dying on planet Earth over border issues is a total farce. This is all about bankers are the winners in every war. It's order out of chaos. The same people are paying for both sides of all these wars, and they're the same people who benefit.
Well,
Mel, here comes the craziest part. Hold on. Here comes the craziest part of this.
Want to send their kids to university? It's here in the United States. Where do people want to come into this country to work? It's here in the United States. None of that is true of Russia. I mean, it's Joe Biden. You may not like Joe Biden if you're a Republican. You may not like the expansion of government. You may not like the CHIPS Act. You may not like the Inflation Reduction Act. You may not like the spending that has gone on during this administration. If you are a fiscal conservative, you may have concerns about it. But to say that, Joe Biden locks up his political enemies, or if you're a journalist, you get thrown into jail if you report critical things of this administration, or that the Justice Department is warped one way or the other, it's ridiculous.
Somebody should tell Julian Assange that Joe Biden doesn't lock up journalists that reveal.
Well, he didn't. They all do.
They all do it.
I mean, MSNBC is Intel Television. First of all, that Zig Brzezinski's daughter is actually treated as if she's a journalist. And Andrew Weissman of the Mueller Report and all of that has a show analyzing the Trump cases when he's the architect of them. I mean, it's such a joke. MSNBC it's embedded with all Intel. It's just so insulting.
Hey, listen, she's Micah Brzezinski. She doesn't have to buy eggs. She freezes eggs.
She just said that Joe Biden doesn't prosecute his political enemies. They've got 4 different bogus lawsuits trying to get Donald Trump thrown in prison. One more bogus than the next.
He doesn't have authority to do that. And that's the deep state's job. What is she talking about?
That's right. So right now they're literally they're indicting using the RICO statute, which is only supposed to be used for the mafia. They're using it against the #1 political opponent of Joe Biden, which is Donald Trump. And the same RICO statute and the same grand jury that indicted Donald Trump in Atlanta are also being used to indict people who are protesting the expansion of the police state in America, which is the Stop Cop City protesters. So you could be the former president or you could be a powerless protester. They're going to use the exact same things on you. And that's the part I tried to impress upon on Cornel West. And Cornel West is a simp for the establishment, which is why he doesn't have the stones to tell the truth about what's happening to Donald Trump. And he doesn't have the stones to tell the truth about what's actually, because if it's going to happen to Donald Trump, it will also happen to Cornel West or anybody like him if he actually becomes a threat to the establishment. Luckily for the establishment, Cornel West has a $500,000 tax bill, so he'll never stand up to the establishment in a way that matters, right? And in fact, he's there to do the bidding to make sure Joe Biden gets reelected. So this, what you just saw there was just black is white, up is down, in is out. Right in your face. Julian Assange is being imprisoned in a Belmarsh prison. They're torturing him and killing him. He hasn't been charged with a crime.
Wait, what the hell does that mean? Trump equals sign with a cross through it, Navalny? What does that mean?
Trump equals Navalny? I guess that's what they're trying to say.
Or they're saying Trump doesn't equal Navalny, even though Navalny wrote a tweet that Trump does equal him.
Well, Navalny's way more racist than Trump, so...
Yeah, Navalny's more racist than Trump.
Or he was,
I think the other thing that we should all also understand about this fourth branch of government, this intelligence branch, is that all the same guys that were running the Mueller investigation, that did all this to Julian Assange, ran Crossfire Hurricane, ran the impeachments, all of that, put themselves back in power, and they're still running the whole thing. So Weissman and Eisen and McCord, they're above. They're in the fifth column. They're actually writing these memos and sending them to Lisa Monaco, and they're funneling them out. All of these cases are the same team that were involved in the Mueller team, and they're not about Trump. People have to understand this has nothing to do with Trump. This has to do with protecting the institutions that they built to spy on us and anyone that goes into power, to keep power in the hands of the billionaire class, the globalists that fund them all at their NGOs. We have been captured. It doesn't matter who wins the presidency because they've usurped the presidency. And we have to start looking at it still in the point of view that, okay, so Trump's there for 4 years, then what? You know, we are screwed if we don't get this intelligence community and the Patriot Act and all of the usurpation done. And it's a small group of guys. It's coming out of Brookings and Just Security and all these other groups. It's not left and right. And they're all funded by the globalists that are destroying America.
And what that's anti-Semitic. I equate globalists with Jews because I was told to by MSNBC and not look at it as an overall Anglophile, capitalist, fucking psychopath network.
And, you know, when they passed the Patriot Act, I think that was also the creation of the FISA court. The FISA court, which is only supposed to be used to go after, to get, if you want to get a phone tap and all that, if you want to violate someone's constitutional rights, you go to the FISA court because you have to say that, oh, what we're really doing is fighting terrorists, and we don't have time to go through regular courts where you could have an adversarial process. So when if the FBI goes and wants to get a phone tap on you and they say you're a terrorist, they go to the FISA court. You're not allowed to present a defense against that in that FISA court. Only the FBI and the CIA are allowed to present it. And so it was found out that immediately they say we're only going to use this for terrorists. They used it against Donald Trump. They went to the FISA court and they went and they lied to the FISA court not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 17 times. The FBI lied to the FISA court so they could get a tap on Donald Trump and his campaign. They got it. Yeah. They had they also got what's called a 2-hop rule. So if you get a phone tap from the FISA court on somebody, you not only get to listen to their phone calls, but you get to listen to anybody they talk to's phone calls, who they talk to. That's called the 2-hop rule. They got that, and they still couldn't find a crime that they could indict Donald Trump on, except when he put a pause on funding weapon transfer to the Ukraine. Right. And now the only reason to vote for Donald Trump is because he would pause funding to the Ukraine is now an impeachable offense. That's the world we're living in now. So that's how they took this thing that's only supposed to be used against terrorists, just like the RICO statute, only supposed to be used against the mafia. Now they're using it against former presidents who are the number one political opponent of the establishment and the donor class. And they're using it against Stop Cop City, people opposing the expansion of the police state. So this idea that we live in a free country, going back to our previous segment with Jon Stewart, the liar, is that's a joke. And anybody who could look into a camera and tell you the United States is a free country is a liar and a simp and a stooge for the establishment. Let me just say.
Yeah, what else came out of it? Don't forget what else came out of the Patriot Act: the DHS, the DNI, the TSA, all of this stuff. And like you said, it was written well before 9/11. And then once it came out, then when Obama and Holder went in there, that's when they started the Department of Justice Division of National Security, which is where a lot of us are being spied on through. And it's one after another. And guess what? They have no oversight. they unilaterally can say, any one of those groups I just mentioned, that somebody is a suspected terrorist, and they can get taps on any of us and our IP addresses.
Secretly.
They went into a deal in 2021 with Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All these groups are all tied to the same, apparatus that came from the Patriot Act.
So here's what Glenn Greenwald said about that segment I just showed you from MSNBC. He said, first, someone please tell me how if the U.S. officially had state TV, it would sound any different than what you just saw. Second, Katty Kay is repulsive for denying that the United States locks up journalists who report critically on its rights as Julian Assange extradition hearing is going on. Right now, who has broken more impactful and consequential stories, Julian Assange or Katty Kay? Why is Katty Kay in an MSNBC green room while Assange is rotting in a high-security UK prison that the BBC calls the British Guantanamo? Elon Musk chimed in. He said, almost all of the legacy media just parrot what the government tells them. So I'm very skeptical of Elon Musk, but sometimes he says the right things. Katty Kay, here's Revolutionary Blackout Network says, Katty Kay is also ignoring the fact that the Biden administration is trying to prosecute the Uhuru Black Socialist Movement for being pro-Russia.
Coalition with DeSantis on that one, huh?
This reporting is why the mainstream media is going out of business, and these networks are laying off massive amounts of employees. Let them be their own downfall. Here's one more I got for you. I grew up with state TV, says Ahmed Bozid. He said, I grew up with state TV. Whenever I go back to the old country to visit, I just watch it for kicks. I confirm that MSNBC is no different than state TV. One narrative, the state is never wrong, no dissenting voices allowed, all is well and good, and nothing unexpected is said.
Well, anybody, especially friends of mine that lean conservative, that blather about China. You live in China, moron. You live in China. The same exact news, you get Chinese propaganda level news, probably not even as good as China.
That's right.
And half the people just wear masks for no reason. China, you live in China, but without the nice train.
That's right. Here's one more I'll show you. Responding to Katty Kay saying that Joe Biden doesn't lock up his political or journalists who expose his lies. We literally locked up someone for memes, not stealing state secrets, for memes.
Well, stochastic terrorism, Jimmy.
Douglas
That's a real
McKay
thing.
was a Twitter user who posted memes and misinformation throughout the 2016 election. He was sentenced this week to 7 months in prison. McKay was originally charged in early 2021, was convicted in March of conspiring to deprive others of their right to vote and faced up to 10 years. So I think what that guy did was post memes that gave the wrong election date and stuff like that.
Oh, it was like you can vote from your phone?
Yeah, you could vote.
Let's say
they're
he was trying to
setting it up. They're setting it up as an example that this is what they're doing. And then the craziest part about that, I hope people understand, then they can get over their Trump derangement syndrome. Julian Assange is literally being tortured because he has everything that could blow up the entire Russiagate, Crossfire Hurricane. Everything that happened was based on the idea that Russia hacked the DNC server, which didn't happen. And Julian Assange told Rohrbacher that went to see him in 2017 that it wasn't Russia. I have the goods. I can tell you. And within a few weeks, he was indicted. And they kept his indictment sealed until the Mueller investigation was over and didn't allow the Mueller team to look into the origins of Crossfire Hurricane. And then they had Bill Barr and John Durham cover it up again. So it's not one side. The entire intelligence community is conspired to keep Julian Assange in this position all this time to protect themselves. And we really have to understand, Bill Barr knew all of this. Weissman, Mueller knew all of this. John Durham knows all of this. Whoever's in, all these people now know all of this, and yet they're still going to take the Julian Assange thing. I bet anything he gets extradited, and they're going to shut him up for life. And he's the one person that can actually blow open that intel fourth branch of government, and that's why they want to kill him. And he's the best thing that could happen to us is if he goes free and speaks out, because that is what they're most scared of. And it's very sad that they're willing to go this far. And then for anyone to say that that's not happening here is such a joke.
But you know what's so crazy? Because Trump, didn't pardon him like he should have. And I think he was like, well, tell everyone who your source was. So, because I'm getting blamed because it's Russia. And Julian Assange he's the only journalist with integrity I've heard of in 20 years. Because I've never heard him say, my personal opinion, it was Seth Rich. I never heard him say who it was. I mean, if he's about to die, I hope he spills the beans. I hope he lets go.
You know
of
that
burden.
just last week, the FBI held back the evidence they were supposed to turn over to Ty Clevenger on Seth Rich's laptop.
I've been drinking about that,
Yes.
And said it's still ongoing. This is all about them being caught being traitors. They committed sedition and treason, whether you like Trump or hate him. They did. And all these people are, you know what, they're throwing our country under the bus, killing Julian Assange because they don't want to go to jail. And that is what I feel like we're dealing with. This intelligence community has gotten so warped that they'll do anything, including have a civil war in America, have wars all over the place, open our borders so that they do not go to jail and they end up running Pan Am and we're all just tributes.
You can't taper off a Ponzi scheme. You got to get desperate.
Hey, come see us live on tour in Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Berlin, Copenhagen, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, right outside Pittsburgh, El Paso, and San Antonio, Texas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.